open world, Pokemon, and a hell ton of freedom. These were the ingredients to make my dream Pokemon game, but there was something missing in the concussion. Making a YouTube video. Thus, Pokemon Aquamarine was born using my love for game design. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 with an extra trailer. I dedicated myself to make a trilogy of my dream Pokemon game, Pokemon Aquamarine.
Pokemon. You know Pokemon. I know Pokemon. Apparently everyone and their mother knows Pokemon. It's the biggest franchise in the world, and you're probably tired of hearing that, but it's a factual fact. There isn't a franchise this big anywhere by a landslide in the multimedia aspect. They produce anime, school supplies, card games, coloring books, tazos, plushes, stickers, water bottles, condoms, and most important for this video, video games. Pokemon became a juggernaut of RPGs since their first game in the Game Boy, Pokemon Red and Green and Pokemon Red and Blue outside of Japan. There is just something so pleasing on capturing these cute to cool looking monsters and training them to become a natural problem and conquer the world with them. Or something like that. This game took the world by storm and even started a competitive scene, with the fan favorite being the BGC format, where you play 2v2 with 2 other Pokemon in the back. It's a favorite part of any Pokemon game. I always have a blast climbing the ladder. For a while. I'm one of the biggest contraries on allowing legendaries in competitive formats. It makes the meta sucks. It becomes boring. Since they are so strong, you have to add one to your team. So here we can finally make a set video to talk about the problems with the franchise video games. Even as an outsider to this franchise, you can see one of its glittering issues. The games have barely changed since the first one in 1996. Like, yeah, we all love Pokemon. But don't come and tell me that there are things at play down in the programming so calculated that a normal earthling brain can't fathom such a meticulous movement of ones and zeros. Nope! The gameplay that once ruled the world has been intact for 26 years. There has been little tweaks now and then, like the addition of 2v2 battles, how critical hits work, and new Pokemon types. But the core gameplay... yeah, you can see it, right? This game have stopped trying to be the best game they can, and started doing something I call the Game Freak rule. This rule basics is that instead of adding every component you'll need to make an awesome game and please the fans, win Game of the Year and become respected as one of the greatest, they just add one of those ingredients to the pot. Every generation. We can see it on display in the biggest douchebaggery in the 3DS games. It's like, okay, we heard you want 3D, here it is, and a new Pokemon type. Whoa! Okay, they are trying, game is the same, but look at the Spy Kids 3D, dude! Now, you don't need HM slaves. HMs will be used by Pokemon that pops up from the Shadow Realm and help you. Also, there are no gyms, you have trials. They are exactly like gyms. Okay, but about the game... Hold your horses, now you have an open area. Whoa, really? How does it work? Well, they are Pokemon walking. Uh-huh, and that's it, baby. PS, gyms are back. Okay, but how about you... Shut up, now we do be indeed be having what is called an open world. Really? Finally? We needed that for 4 generations! But how does it work? You can go anywhere. Yeah, and? That's kind of it, baby. The gyms do not scale, you can catch practically any Pokemon, we close some of the paths like a Metroidvania game, so open world in the sense of open world, well, you know, we need to save the real open world for the next generation, you know, so the players feel like we are listening to them. You know? Fuck you. This game has lost sight of what made the franchise so magical. The Pokemon. Weird, right? Who would think that Pokemon are what make Pokemon so amazing? This world is giant, beautiful, and full of magical creatures that makes you want to hug them, share a beer with them, or... moving on. When you play the game, it's designed is telling you that there are some Pokemon stronger than others, some that are harder to catch, legendary beasts, powerful and dangerous creatures. But the gameplay is like... Hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. Even though the world can be fleshed out, and you can understand everything that is going on and the stakes, the game is just a straight line, with no bumps on difficulty or jumps in gameplay. It's the fucking same monotonous tone throughout the whole game. Since Gen 7, I was losing hope on the franchise. And then Gen 8 sealed the deal. I was done with Pokemon. But then, like if someone was listening to me, they threw a fucking curveball at me, and they released one of the most beautiful trailers I've seen Pokemon produce, along with Pokemon Snap one. But that was in Game Freak, so it doesn't count. It's always going to be better. Need more proof? There you go. Now, it was 8 AM. I was like, fuck, am I even interested in this Pokemon Direct anymore? Then my fucking cell phone jumped, punched me in the face, bring me closer and said, you're gonna want to watch this. And then... Holy shit! Open world? I can sneak and catch Pokemon? I can get killed by them? Pokemon make contact in battle? A new battle mechanic? A new art style? And for fuck's sake, can I throw a Pokeball? I don't know if you realize, but in a game about catching Pokemon throwing one of these, this is the first time in 26 fucking years where we actually have a real-time in-game button to throw a fucking Pokeball. In a mainline game. That sounds fucking nuts, right? But it's true, we were missing on this for a long time. Pokemon tried something new, and it was awesome. It made us explore the world, feel terrorized by Pokemon. There were some stronger than the rest. They had clear height differences. It was fucking amazing. It's like someone at Game Freak said, fuck you, I'm actually gonna make a good Pokemon game. And none of your bullshit. Then fucking McGiver the shit out of the assets he had and made the worst looking, but better designed Pokemon games. That game was such a fantastic move, like it will be fantastic if you subscribed. Okay, moving on. And I was back, baby! I love Pokemon again. I had a blast, I finished the shit out of that game. And at the end, I felt like the experience was worth it. And then, I went full rage mode. Because it finally happened. Pokemon tried something new. And they were probably never gonna do it again. Because the mainline title sold 10 million more copies. And it only gave me a taste of what I think to be the closest game to deliver on the promise of what the Pokemon franchise is all about. So follow me as we build what the Pokemon franchise looks like in my mind, in a well-designed game, where we will tackle 3 important things. 1. The world. 2. The Pokemon. And 3. The combat. The second one will tie a lot with the first one, since they need each other to coexist. So let's start designing this game, shall we? And let's do what the Pokemon franchise has been neglecting to do for a long time. Evolving. Pokemon design has taken the world really seriously since the beginning, adding names for each town and making the names resemble colors as the Pokemon franchise will too in the future. Adding atmosphere to each one in a major way, so you feel your progression through the game and can identify each city easily, and feel the dangers and adventure of being outside of them and wandering into a forest or a huge ocean. And even though the graphics have changed and you can have a clearer view of these places now, one of my favorites being the Let's Go series Viridian Forest and the Black and White Lawson Forest, these wonderful vistas are just used as a hallway for you to go from point A to point B. Even in Scarlet and Violet, it's just like, the circle is a forest, but that's it, baby! There are no changes in how you progress, it's not treacherous or anything, and don't get me started on the oceans or seas in Gen 9. This shit's sad. The world feels empty because of the lack of change in it, every biome is the same. Look at the difference of a game that puts thought on its biomes, the Breath of the Wild saga. Yeah, you may be screaming, dude, how can you compare Zelda to Pokemon? Biggest franchise in the world! They can actually make whatever they want. But okay, see how Zelda makes its world feels alive. One biome is too cold, one is too hot, one is filled with trees and makes it hard to move, one is tropical and has a lot of thunderstorms, rendering metal weapons useless. And Gerudo is a mix between cold and hot, so you need knowledge of both of the other biomes to move through it. That is a fucking world! No place functions the same as the last one. It's amazing and you remember these places. There are dragons and enemies roaming everywhere, just some of them stay in the same place, making use of the Majora's Mask design idea of a living world outside of you. In Pokemon, we have a place with grass, the place without grass, and the place with grass again. You are not exploring, you are not finding new stuff. You are just moving through the game. There is nowhere where your spark of exploration or discovery turns on. I think this is the blandest and most basic open world there can be. So how do we make it better? Let's make it bigger. We need a forest where the trees cover you. The sun is nowhere to be seen, you can just catch a glimpse of it through the leaves. Let's add a place like the Mushroom Cave in Sword and Shield, a vast open field like Breath of the Wild. Caves, volcanoes, mountains where it starts like a grassy beautiful place with a lot of flowers, and as you go up it becomes colder, and you can see a lot of snow and nice Pokemon everywhere. We need the world to affect our character. And here is where we connect with the second point of this video. I told you that they needed each other to coexist as a Pokemon game, since the world will obviously change around these beasts, and your progression through it should too. The Pokemon are the main focus of this franchise, so let's design the game around them, and not just add them like a second thought like, yeah, sure, we can add Gligar there, like what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Legends Arceus had the right idea, just in a smaller game, but they actually added Pokemon in places and biomes where they will live, and there are places where you can't just walk and be effective. And Gen 9, well, we're almost there. But now, how about we add some value to the Pokemon? What do I mean with the word value? Pokemon are treated like trash in these games, like even though some are more powerful than others, it's the same process to catch them, and you just need RNGs to help you. And then you just grab 5 Pokemon along with your starter, and that's it! You'll never need help from the other 200 plus Pokemon you caught. And even in past generations, you only needed 1 HM slave to progress through the game. But how about you actually need help from your Pokemon at all times? Legends Arceus gave us a taste of what Pokemon can do to help you traverse the world. Snizzler can help you climb. Weirder is a faster way to move through the world. Ursaluna can help you find items. Basculin Legion can help you move through the water. And Bravery is just a glider. That's a really good idea, but those Pokemons are summonable anywhere at any time like the HMs from Gen 7. For a change, how about we need help from our own Pokemon to move through the world? Maybe we have mineral spots, just like in Legends, but there are minerals that are so strong that you need a ground, steel, or rock type Pokemon with Rock Smash to break them. And because of that, you get better and rare items for crafting. Of course, bring crafting back. One way to cheat in open world games and make them feel less empty is just adding collectibles everywhere, since they are going to be useful anytime, and you will want to get out of your way to get it. And maybe one of these collectibles is a specific apricorn that you need to take down from a tree. So you need a Pokemon with Vine Whip or a Pokemon with Cut. And let's use a grass Pokemon with Leech Seed to plant a new tree in a town where you can get your own house or your own garden to plant specific hard to find items. But to get those seeds, you need to get to the top of a mountain. And how do you get on the top of that mountain, you may be asking? Easy! A rock Pokemon with enough strength to help you climb. You see what we're doing here, right? Pokemon have a lot of value now since you're gonna need a lot of them with specific builds to help you traverse the world, and even collect stuff. Huge Pokemon that can carry you through the snow. Either way you may get stuck now and then. Fire Pokemon in really high areas so you won't freeze to death. Water Pokemon to help you move through the water, and big water Pokemon to dive and explore underneath the water. Flying Pokemon to move through the air. Dragon Pokemon that maybe fly faster and are strong enough to break rocks, just like the rock or ground types. And you may be asking, yeah, cool, but what is the reason for me to get all these items with the help of my Pokemon? Oh, I'm really glad you asked, little Jeremy, and I sure will explain myself. Go with me, fidget of my imagination, I'm gonna blow your fucking mind with my most controversial thought on Pokemon. Ah yes. Pokemon should not be easy to catch. At least not all of them. I hate the fact that you can throw a Pokeball and catch a squirrel and practically God. There is no thought put into that. So these items that you are collecting with your Pokemon throughout the game are crafting materials to make lures or food for a specific Pokemon to catch. So maybe you need to collect 5 items to craft a Mamoswine lure, and after doing that, you need to throw it at them. And only after that you can battle it, or you can chuck a Pokeball at him and actually get him, otherwise it will just run or be uncatchable. And that's how you get value to Pokemon. Instead of here comes the ball, some of them are going to be a fucking adventure to catch, making the school recess talks of my childhood of, Joe, did you catch Mewtwo? Oh my god, there's a Mewtwo? It's on this cave, dude! Holy moly, I want Mewtwo! And then you go to your house and find Mewtwo, and then you see Mewtwo, and then you battle Mewtwo, and it takes you like 70 fucking balls to get Mewtwo, and after you catch Mewtwo, you can go back and say, dude, I caught Mewtwo. Huh. Nice! High five! And now let's turn that whole exchange into, Joe, did you catch Garchomp? Oh my god, did you catch Garchomp? I can't make the lure. I don't know which town sells them. Dude, you gotta break the Dragonite mineral on top of the highest mountain in the game. The one that is blocked by that roaming Alpha Bombasnow? Yeah, dude, be sure to bring Fire Pokemon to survive and Rock Pokemon to climb. Oh, dude, I'm gonna build my team right now. And then, you build the shit out of your team and go prepare for an adventure, a side quest almost given to you by a fellow classmate. And then, you go climb that mountain and destroy the shit out of that Alpha Bombasnow. It took you like 3 tries, since that Alpha Bombasnow is uncatchable. But you beat it. And then on the top of that mountain, you see a bluish rock formation. And you send Escadrille with Railrun to collect the Dragonite for you. And at the side of that Dragonite, you see a note trapped in a rock. And you pick it up. And it reads, "It's been told for generations that Dragonite can create an irresistible smelly potpourri for catching Garchomps. All you need is smelly leaves, Dragonair scales, Mudkip's mud, Magikarp whiskers, and of course, the Dragonite." And then you grab the shit of that item and go get your fucking Garchomp. Damn! See? See how wonderful that would be? The world feels alive, and catching Pokemon is going to feel amazing. Getting all the materials and building a team that will help you go through whatever you decide to tackle first will be fucking awesome. And of course, we still will have a computer in our menu, so we can change Pokemon fast, and maybe an option to separate them by type, so you can grab whatever you need. Or specific boxes to save different teams, so you may have a team built for battling, one for exploration in land, one for exploration in seas, and one for gardening. So, let's recap the cycle of how the game will combine all its design aspects. The world will be a treacherous place with a lot of biomes that you as a human will need Pokemon to traverse. So, you need to catch some easy to find / catch Pokemon, then make use of your grass Pokemon to collect search and stuff, rock Pokemon to break and climb stuff, water, fire and ice Pokemon to traverse to different spaces. And of course, different interactions with same materials are possible, like cutting a tree gives you wood, but burning it with a fire Pokemon can give you charcoal. How fucking amazing, you're in control of the game, you are playing the game isn't playing you. Then, use these items to craft lures to catch stronger Pokemon. How do you get the recipe, you may be asking? Side quest, talking to NPCs, and if you find one in a town's market, just buy it and you will automatically get the recipe. So, to catch a Magmi you may need charcoal, or a berry, and a smelly leaf to craft that lure. Throw it at him and then battle it, or just throw a Pokeball, Legends style. But you have to make use of the world and your Pokemon together. And here's where another important part falls in the equation, the battles. Of course, battling wild Pokemon is now optional like Legends, even though there should be Pokemon that you need to fight to catch, like Machamp, Hawlucha, Garchomp. Those Pokemon should be battled, not only caught, but this makes battles optional with half of the game. And I think trainer battles should be controlled as in Scarlet and Violet. You gotta go and talk to them to initiate the battle. So, battling should give you a reward, right? I think money should be really hard to come through in the game, and battling is the only way to get it. And also give you really hard to come materials like necklaces or karate bands that you'll need to catch fighting Pokemon. So, the way to catch fighting Pokemon is to battle, that's neat. And fighting Pokemon can be used to push stuff, break rocks and minerals, and if they are huge, thinking we have the same height engine as Legend Arceus, they can carry you through the snow. And I think Pokemon should be balanced, nothing so OP, nothing so dumb. Like you're not going to use a Bibarel in competitive, because Incineroar is going to beat the shit out of you, or fucking Mega Rayquaza or Landorus. That sucks. Every Pokemon should be viable. It's really dumb that you can only use the same 20 in competitive, it fucking sucks. Let's balance the shit out of this, and also make competitive easier to get into. And you may be asking how, Jeremy? Well, battle simulation. What is that? Well, how about instead of having to lose a fucking week to make an EV trained 6 Pokemon team, you can get to competitive with a menu called Battle Simulation, where you can pick any of the Pokemon you have caught. Yeah, you have to have catch the Pokemon. So, gotta catch them all fucking makes sense now. And after that, you can pick that Pokemon from your PC, make a simulation of it, choose the ability, choose the IVs, choose the EVs, and use that Pokemon in a battle simulation arena. So you can make a team in fucking 5 minutes instead of in a fucking half year. And with that, you're gonna want to finish the game if you wanna play competitive, since you have to catch those strong Pokemon with great value. And to catch them, you have to find them via exploration, progression through the game, or talking to NPCs to get knowledge about the Pokemon and to know where they live. And here comes one of the most desired things in Pokemon. Make the Pokemon have a presence in the world. Alpha Pokemon were close, but instead of just having them sit in place, make them roam. And maybe they are so strong that maybe some are uncatchable, but beatable at fights. So when you don't have the materials to catch or fight them, you are scared as fuck, like, damn, I need that berry to catch Bulbasaur. But that goddamn Alpha Carnivine roam these places a day. I better wait till night so it goes to sleep and I can steal my way to that tree. Isn't that fucking neat? Doesn't the world feel alive? God damn it, I can get enough of that. And then you hear from an NPC that clearly likes to cut trees, and you give it no fucking importance. But then you reach a forest where you see a lot of trees in the ground, and you're like, oh shit! Flashback! You hear from an NPC that clearly likes to cut trees. Return from flashback. Motherfucker, there's a cleaver here, and you can fucking search for it and catch it. But maybe the same NPC tells you that they like to fight, so you know you have to fight to catch them. Or they tell you they like rock candy with sugarcane. And motherfucker, there you have it. There's the lure. And that same town can sell you fucking sugarcane. And in that forest, there are minerals that can be destroyed via rock Pokemon that give you rock candy. The fucking world gives everything to you. You only need to be open to explore and listen so you can fit all the puzzle pieces together. If there are claw marks in the trees and Seviper fangs in the ground, yeah, there are collectibles. Maybe a Sangus is near. There are claw marks in the cave. There are stronger claws, so maybe it's a Garchomp or a Bisharp. Painted trees, Graphia. Burned apples, Charmander. Shoes of little kids in the trees, Drifloon. I know programming this is hard as fuck, but dude, biggest franchise in the world. And maybe hire some workers since Game Freak shown us that they suck at making games. Maybe pass the fucking baton via Baton Pass to Bandai Namco, so they can boost the stats of the franchise and change the open world meta, terrestrializing the game into the Game of the Year Elite 4 and Hall of Fame the share of this game. I love this franchise, and I think it's not getting the respect it needs. It is without any doubt fucking underwhelming, a fucking cancer to itself. And we're eating it like it's the second bowl of cereal that leaves you like, ugh, I'm gonna barf. This franchise needs to evolve. It needs all of this to become probably the best open world game out there. Finally, Game of the Year, and become a massive competitive game with a lot of personality, like a fighting game, where a panda can beat Evo, and maybe we can finally see a day when a Pachirisu can be world champ again. Maybe I can finally get my Gudra to world champ, and maybe I can finally tell my friends, dude, have you caught Mewtwo? A long time ago, me and my friends decided that every time the birthday of one specific friend came around, we will hike a hill that was located 40 minutes away from where we lived. Each year, one of our parents would take us there and leave us for a couple of hours by our own. And year by year, we got better and better on reaching the top of that hill. After a while, we started getting tired of using the common path, since a lot of people will use it because it was the intended way for residents of the area to reach the top. In other words, it was the easiest path available. So we decided to start hiking from the opposite side of the hill, where we will meet beautiful virgin land, where we will start a new adventure. There were lots of ways to go about it. Some of us climbed walls, some just used big rocks to reach higher places. There were dangerous cacti everywhere, which I got stuck in my hands multiple times, and it's a painful experience to take all of those huge spikes one by one out of your hand. And it was full of this plant, or I guess ivy, that we colloquially know as pegarropa in Mexico, literally meaning cloth stickers or cloth grabbers. These little fuckers will stick on every single piece of your clothes, duh, and they will break through it and start stinging you every time your skin even dare to rub against an inch of your clothes. I'm sorry, I just really hate those things. In the new path, we even found the snakes. And once, and I kid you not, we were stopped in our tracks by a freaking bull. It was tiring, painful, and sometimes dead ass dangerous. And you know what? We loved every single second of it, because it was our adventure and no one else's. We were by our own. We were exploring at our heart's content, and each time it was a different experience. Sometimes we will get up there no problem, and other times my friend will take out his shirt and use it as a shield to break a fucking wall of tree branches blocking our way. I'm afraid with animals, I tell you. And when we finally reached the top, everyone had different rituals. I used to lay underneath a huge tree while eating sandwiches, while one of my friends ate chips like a maniac. And one crazy motherfucker just started doing fucking yoga. It was so bizarre that we even joined him once. One year, we took a different path that led us to a place we never seen before. And that place, there was this cave. And we were attracted to it instantly, like frame one, fucking Jokerbuck's airspeed, you know? And when we came closer to it, it was pitch fucking dark. We were scared, we wanted to go in, but we didn't want to get hurt. And in between all the darkness, we saw that in one of the many walls inside the cave, there was something written in a rock, the word Jesus. So, we as a team decided that next year we will come back to that place prepared and explore what we now called Jesus Cave, or Chuy's Cave, because in Mexico we call the guy's name Jesus Chuy. So, 1 year later, we all gathered outside of Jesus Cave. 2 of us with powerful flashlights, all of us with huge backpacks in our backs, massive sticks, and a freaking knife to protect ourselves from any animals that may appear in the cave. We stood in front of it, nervous, with cold sweat in our foreheads, scared, but most importantly, excited, You are going to explore something new in our favorite hill, in one of our favorite gathering spots, by ourselves. We were taking a step into the unknown. And my friends, the feeling me and my friends had in our guts at the moment we stepped into that cave, that hunger for exploration and to find out what lies beyond those dark corners, that is the appeal of open world games. Video games attempt to give their players escape from the day-to-day life, giving us the opportunity to be a fox with metal legs that controls some massive spacecrafts and shoot bad guys while doing barrel roll. Or literally transform yourself into a yellow ball that eats pallets and uses rights for social distancing from colored ghosts.
What did he say?
Video games are amazing. They are divided in so many genres that I will not list out because I was forced to do it in my thesis and I will crumble to PTSD if I attempted to do it again. But the important genre for today's video is going to be the open world genre. It's one of my favorites in the whole gaming landscape for the simple reason that I love world building. I love losing myself in these beautiful crafted worlds. That's why I really enjoy Avatar, One Piece and Pokemon. Their worlds feel so alive that I can't help myself but to be engrossed in them. It's such a shame that Pokemon can't seem to put their world in a good fucking game.
Oh shit, here we go again.
So, before talking about it, we have to understand where the hell open world games came from. And believe it or not, open world / adventure games were the first games that were incorporated for a big audience, since all of this world exploration phenomena started with a very famous game called Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, that nerd shit. The game they play in Stranger Things, the game Jay plays in her latest video, and the game Baldur's Gate 3 is based on. You see, this game is all about being put in a situation and moving freely through it, and fuck around with your friends, but big emphasis in the freedom part. The selling point in this game is that your imagination is the only thing between you and a wonderful experience. If the Dungeon Master puts a dragon in front of you, you could attempt killing it with magic, or using a sword, or simply use a mousetrap to crush its balls. Yeah, that is a real option you have in Dungeons and Dragons. And this concept of putting the players in a beautiful and imaginative world with bizarre experiences and giving them the freedom to fuck around is the base of all the adventure games for the future. And most importantly, the base of open world games. With the first example ever being the text-to-adventure games.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
No, really, listen to me. Follow me on this trip. Just think about this. These were games based on D&D, where you were put in a wonderful and magical world and you choose your own commands to start exploring it. You were discovering something with the help of your imagination. You were just being guided through it, since this was the first time this happened and players needed explanation of how it worked. Games like Adventureland, Zork, and early Sierra games like Mystery House, they were just putting you in an imaginative situation, just like the Dungeon Master will do, and then you decided by yourself what to do. And little by little, you will uncover all the mysteries of these uncharted lands. Remember this is a key aspect of open world games, the freedom part. And if this sounds familiar, it is because it's the exact premise of the most successful open world game of its time, The Legend of Zelda, for Nintendo Entertainment System. This game was a juggernaut of gaming. People went crazy for the game, and it created, at the time, what will be the third biggest Nintendo franchise, just behind Mario and another RPG inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, Dragon Quest. And here's another important thing. Even though both of these games are based on D&D, the difference between them is a really important one for the future of game design. While Dragon Quest is a scripted adventure, Zelda pushes you into the wild and let you mess around and find out a lot, and all by yourself. It took you months to finish the game. You needed Nintendo Power Hour tips because the world was massive for the time, and you needed to find a lot of secrets by your own merit, opening the door for other developers to create open world experiences, like Crystalis. And of course, there were games before Zelda that were open world, like Ultima 1 and Hyrule. But none of these were as successful as Legend of Zelda. Miyamoto, the creator of Zelda, as if he needs an introduction, describes the push to create Zelda being born by the desire he had to explore caves near the place he lived. And that really connects with me, as you can tell by this point. And not only me, the success of this game comes from people that share the desire of being transported to a world of their own and explore it to their heart's content. So now that we saw the public were open to open world games, gaming companies will start to get deeper and deeper into the creation of these giant worlds. At this time, we have really famous companies that thrive by doing open world experiences, such as Rockstar and Bethesda. But with the time and how the gaming community has evolved, there are a lot of things that change in the video game landscape. People now wanted epic stories being told with beautiful graphics, and they started to miss the point of video games altogether. But that's a video for another day. In 2017, Nintendo released one of their biggest projects yet, a reimagining of one of their biggest franchises ever. Is Zelda. We all know it's Zelda at this point. Breath of the Wild was a giant game full of wonderful vistas, really evolved gameplay, and a new and fresh direction for open world games. Its success was big enough that a lot of franchises will start to dip their feet in the open world genre again, creating an era of Breath of the Wild copies, where we will see the birth of massive gaming names, such as Genshin Impact. Yeah, that means Jimmy here can be freed from. Games try to emulate the success that Zelda got with the open world treatment, but the companies and even the public started missing what makes Zelda work, what made the game stand out, and what should be the approach when building an open world game. And just thinking that you already know what you want in a game, it doesn't make it right. Right, Starfield? I'm a pretty elevated experience only for the fuck you. So, bear with me as I share with you 3 keys that every open world game should have in the modern age of gaming. And hopefully, with this you will understand why Zelda is going to stand the test of time, and a lot of these other open world games won't. So, bear with me, and let's talk design. This first key isn't going to rewrite your mind or anything. If your game is described as an open world, congratulations, you probably have it already. Even Pokemon got it right. Kind of. The key is to have an open world. Okay, well now let's dig into what having an open world means. Your game should have a huge map for your players to explore, and the player should be able to do just that. Exploring. Every single nook and cranny of your game should be accessible to the player. Let's remember that this whole operation is based in Dungeons and Dragons philosophy. So create a world that your player will be interested in and let your player explore it to its heart's content. But don't make your world an empty 2D plane. It should have different terrains, mountains, forests, caves. Let's not just make it a boring experience where you can walk for 1 hour without anything to do. We can see how Starfield breaks this rule and makes exploration boring. And then, giving you nothing to do after reaching an interest point is such a bold move.
Anything? Anything at all going on inside here?
Yes.
Just smooth like an egg in there, isn't it?
Pokemon is described as an open world now, but it breaks one of the rules mentioned here too, since not every area in the game is reachable since the beginning, and it works more like a Metroidvania game, where certain parts of the map are blocked until you complete a certain part of the game to unlock your progression through it. And okay, let's bring back the freedom again. Even though they show you where every single gym is, they do not scale, and you have to do it in certain order if you want to have an enjoyable experience. Some of them are even blocked by those abilities that I mentioned before. Freedom and a captivating world to explore should be the first priorities in an open world. Now, let's see how Zelda does it. There are rivers, and you may not have the stamina to cross it swimming. So, you are telling me the game is stopping you, like Pokemon? You're telling me Zelda sucks? No, shut up. You see, Zelda really uses that freedom part to its advantage, since you may not have the stamina, but there are countless ways for you to cross. And some of them make use of that exploration we've been talking about. You could find an Octorok and discover that their gods can make stuff fly. So you could use a tree to get to the other side if you attach Octorok gods to it. Or in Breath of the Wild, you can use your freeze rune thingy to cross. Or even use bombs. Yeah, there are obstacles in the world, since it shouldn't be an easy exploration experience or a monotonous one. But using everything around you that you discover because you went exploring is a fucking rewarding experience on its own. And sadly, this is where most of the open world experiences die. This is it. That's where they draw the line and say, my job is done, I created an open world experience, now give him $1 million. When in reality, as I said, this is the easiest part and just the beginning of the design aspect. Games like Pokemon that keep their core gameplay but in an open area. Games like Sonic that have the same exact gameplay but in an open area. Red Dead Redemption, GTA, Assassin's Creed, Elden Ring, Starfield. This is where all of them fall in this trap. If an open world was really the fact that you could just walk around the world, it will be so easy to program a character in Unreal and put it in a generated field and call it a day. Because these games doesn't really change the experience of their non-open world games to the ones that are. It's the same concept, just with free space from one point of interest to another. And there are ways for battling this monotonous gameplay problem. A way to make your world feel alive, and not just being Dark Souls, but with a horse ride from one level to another. Let's be clear, I love Elden Ring and From Software games, and even though the world is fucking beautiful, it didn't exploit what an open world game could be. This key is something that I'm yet to see more in open world games, but even games that are in open world get it right sometimes. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but even Pokemon got it right. That's right, Pokemon Legends Arceus, the best Pokemon game ever created. Fight me, I don't care, fight me.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
Pokemon Legends Arceus got it right in one of their little open areas. More of this and we will be eating so good. If you saw my Pokemon video, you remember how much I praised The Legend of Zelda for having what I call biomes. These biomes are the changes the map has that affect your gameplay and make the world feel more alive. These changes can affect your gameplay more than you think. Let's put GTA and Elden Ring as an example. In both games, the maps have no change whatsoever in how you approach it, meaning that if you played in an area of the game, you know how everything else will play out. If you steal stuff in some place in GTA and escape from the police, it's going to be the exact same experience in the other corner of the map. In Elden Ring, if you fought something at the beginning of the map, it's going to be the same experience at a different dungeon. Of course, the difficulty and the weapons change, but there isn't really anything appealing in the world. It could just have been another Dark Souls game, like any other, and it would have been the same core experience, really. Let's put it in perspective with other two games that almost got it right, being Pokemon Legends Arceus and
Genshin Impact.
You see, in Pokemon Legends, there are a difference in biomes, and when you don't have your Pokemon to traverse seamlessly through them, you can be stopped by bunches of mud or making your speed and dodge accuracy fall because you're fighting on a little lake. Having trees that makes it harder for you to hit your Pokeballs or see small creatures.
What?
And that's it! They had the right idea, but they stopped too short. They made a world where your experience would change depending where you are, instead of having the same experience from the first hour of the game. And Genshin had the same idea too. They just implemented it in other parts of the game, where they didn't have the impact they should. In Genshin, we have a lot of different elements, and when they are combined, they have different effects. They even have a journal in game so you can see what effects can be triggered by combining all the elements. And this makes your gameplay change a little. For example, if you have a character that uses water to attack, and you're facing an ice enemy, you are running the risk of being frozen, since the elemental attacks also applies to you. Making you have this risk hanging in front of your face at all times is a good way for bending your playstyle to be safer around these fights. They even have a huge mountain that has a meter of how cold you are, and if you reach a certain point, your health will start depleting, and freeze attacks can make that bar feel faster, so it changes the way you approach fighting. It's awesome! But sadly, this is the only part in the game where this kind of gameplay is implemented. They keep the same monotonous gameplay outside of here, and these elemental combos risk stay with the enemies and the enemies alone, and they keep their open world as plain as the rest, outside of this mountain. If they added more of this factor to the world instead of just the enemies, I think the game would be a better experience, and will decrease the risk of being so repetitive as it is today, since if you experience the first hour like these other games, it's going to be more of that, without a change. So, let's see how Zelda works around this. And if you haven't noticed, Zelda is going to be the golden child here, and we are going to use it as the game we base everything around. In Zelda, we have mountains, caves, deserts, and every single one of them change the style you have to approach the game. For example, in snowy areas or high mountains, the temperature is going to get low, making your character take damage in short periods of time, until you do something to warm him up. Or at the same time, the desert makes your character take damage because of the heat. and both the snowy and the desert areas make your character move slower because of the sand and the snow, making it harder for you to get the fuck out of there. Your health is low. Also, there are volcanic areas that make your wooden weapons catch on fire, and you might be saying, well, then I'll use metal weapons. And the game is going to spit on your face and say nah, because there are storms every now and then that render your metal weapon useless. Also, there are tropical areas near the shore which have higher chances of having storms. And unless you want to take a freaking thunder straight to your freaking face, you should have a wooden weapon. And there are also things so simple like having places heavily packed with trees. And those areas make fighting a lot harder since you can move properly around them. And that's not all. Now in Tears of the Kingdom we have sky islands that make gravity fucking go to sleep, letting you glide for bigger stretches, or just jump like a crazy mofo. And the depths that have you throwing light plants every freaking 10 seconds and avoiding the gloom. Otherwise your hearts will break and you won't be able to heal them back up unless you are prepared with specific dishes, making it dangerous to be down there and motivating you to create vehicles to move around the gloom. See how wonderful that world is? The world feels alive and has its own personality, and you remember the places not only because how they look, but because how it felt to play in those areas. And let's remember the freedom portion of the open world games. You might, and I say might because I don't think you are that dumb. Mwah, kisses. If for any reason you're saying, okay, you're telling there are places that are cold and may harm you and stuff like that, isn't that telling me that there are places that need specific stuff to go through them? And if that is the case, wouldn't that make those places exactly like the Pokemon Metroidvania worlds we talked about before? No, shut up! And here is why. In Pokemon you need the climb ability to reach those high areas, and that's it, there is no moving around that. While here, you could explore and find out that there are potions or dishes that can be created to withstand the weather effects, but just for a while, so it makes you have to brute force it with the constant fear of running out of protective effect, making a change in gameplay. Or you could explore more and pack a shit ton of healing items and just go through it while eating like a mad lad. Or use a torch to move through it, but if you do, you are limiting your ability to fight, so you need to play in a more stealthy way, or believe in yourself and dodge all upcoming attacks. And because you're in a snowy area, you can find value in different equipment like your shield. It becomes more useful because you can snowboard. The shield surfing is so smooth in this area, not like in the other biomes. So whenever you see the shrine you want to reach, you could just tank the damage while shield surfing towards it. I think this really explains why the World Zelda build really works. You see how many scenarios we just created to reach one freaking shrine? Out of the 200 plus the game have, there are a lot of possibilities, and your approach is going to change depending on where you are. The world is breathing, and you are enjoying your time in it. This scenario building couldn't happen in Pokemon or Elden Ring. In GTA, maybe, but the thing is that those scenarios you build in your mind in GTA can work everywhere in the map, while the ones we just built are for this area and this area alone. If you are going to make an open world game, make your players feel like they are in a world, not in a 2D plane. Please, we need more of this. And this isn't it. There is still a third key. One that can change your world from being awesome, just like the one we just talked about, to one that rebuilds the whole open world genre. The hidden sauce to make your game for a good open world to a groundbreaking one. Not so long ago, Epic Games put Elder Scrolls Online as one of their free games, and me and a friend installed it because we wanted to give it a try. And once we finished the tutorial, we were sent to this beautiful land with giant mushrooms and weird plant life, and I was excited. I wanted to see what the world was going to add to the experience. But after a while, I realized this world is just a background. It's just there to make the game feel more pretty. It's like those old cartoons that had the background with such a different art style that you could point out what was going to move in that scene and what was just a background detail. And here, it felt just like that. It didn't matter if I was in a cave or in this weird plant forest. The gameplay was going to be the same and limit to the same loop. Needless to say, I did not like the game. But right there, I understood what differentiates Zelda from other open world games and what these games need to become even better. Let your player interact with the world. Zelda Breath of the Wild let you interact with its world since the beginning. shooting beasts from trees, cutting trees to make a bridge, starting a fire in grassy areas, or just pushing a goddamn rock. Hell, it even goes even deeper with the Shake-a-Slate. We can use it to interact with any metal object or make time stop for a specific object, or even an enemy in the late game, and create ice pillars from any water body. And with all of this combined, we also get to experience physics. We are not just a character bound to the same movements. We can use fire to create gust of winds and take flight. We can explode stuff and make them fly away. We can stop time for a specific object and charge it with kinetic energy and then use it to our advantage. Hell, we can even use the items we collect for enemies like the Octorok balloons for making things float and control them with our Korok leaves. The game lets you explore all the possibilities that this physics can give you. The only thing in your way is your imagination, like in Dungeons and Dragons. And this is even taken further when playing Tears of the Kingdom, since now everything can be fused into your weapons. This care put into the world can go so far in making the players feel inside the game. It makes every decision they make feel like their own experience, and theirs alone, no one else's. That is the promise of an open world. Remember that. When the exploration and the interaction with the world goes this deep, they can even forget that they are playing Zelda, or Sonic, or Elden Ring, because they feel like themselves. When you put them into an open world, they should feel like exploring by their own leash, no matter if it's the world of Hyrule, or Eldinia, or Sonic Land. I don't know the names. They want to get lost in the world, so let them explore it and interact with it as they wish. When you decide to create an open world, the world becomes the main character in itself. It should be as important or even more important than your title character. Also, a really important thing is the gameplay, but hell, that is a whole different cake. And this video took me long enough, and we will have to talk about different stuff from zero, and that's for another day. And one of the easiest ways to make your player interact with the world is adding a crafting system. Yeah, it's literally a cheat. It can make your world feel less empty, since they are going to be picking everything up the freaking ground, just because there is going to be a moment when the material they picked up will come in handy. And for it to feel that way, you should make the crafting system important, not just an afterthought. If you don't implement it well, people are just never going to be using it. In Elden Ring, I never crafted anything, and I really don't need to. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, it felt really good to craft my Pokeballs in the go, or potions to keep exploring for a little bit longer. But after a while, you can just buy whatever you need in stupid quantities and be done with it. It's faster and easier, and you don't need the money for anything else. And in Breath of the Wild, they understood this. Crafting, or in this case cooking, was used mainly for dishes to recover health, stamina, boost search and stats, or protect you from the weather. It is really cool and versatile for the player, but it isn't needed. So Tears of the Kingdom came up with the awesome idea of adding stuff everywhere, but not for crafting or cooking. Everything you pick up is part of your arsenal now. Fire fruits for fire arrows, the blinky stinky fruit for having fucking flashbangs, ice fruits for ice arrows. Even bokoblins leave horns behind that can be used for fusing to your weapons and making them stronger, or just making the damage of a single arrow greater. They really cracked the code for making everything useful and fun to mess around with, since there are a lot of really cool and funny fusions that you really need to fuck around to find them out. And now even the trees can be used to make cars or different contraptions. Even though this is the same map from the last game, the world really became bigger just by changing your ability to interact with it. I think there are open worlds with really good ideas in the gameplay, like Horizon Zero Dawn. It feels really cool to use a rogue weapon to pin flying enemies into the ground and destroy their different parts. But the lack of variety in gameplay and in how the world is created really puts it a little bit down. It's a good game, you can have a good time, hell I had a good time, but it will not change how you see video games or how you experience them. It's nothing new. You can find close to the same experience with other games. And the Zelda franchise really is spoiling us to the point that we see gaming different, to the point that everyone wanted to simulate what Zelda did, without understanding how it did it. We can say we want an open world with Sonic or with Assassin's Creed, but without knowing what an open world really is, we get half-baked ideas that doesn't wow us or reinvent the wheel as Zelda did 3 times to this day. When gaming is trying to give us these huge promises and ideas, but they don't really know how to implement it, or they don't even know what they should pursue, time just stops. And we play the same game over and over and over with different presentations. We need an evolution, and it begins with understanding what makes a genre what it is, outside of all the hundreds of genres out there. If you only have a giant 2D plane to explore, you can be called an open world game. If your open world has bumps in how you have to approach it, like different biomes and gameplay changes, you are an open world. And if you can interact with your world and make it feel alive outside of your characters, make the players feel lost, excited for what's to come, makes them have their own experience that will differ from other players, or just make them feel like me and my friends felt while we stared back at that cave, prepare for what's to come with a smile in the face. My friend, you have a good open world game.
I have made 3 videos to this day that have been like stepping stones for this video here today. You may have an idea of what game I want if you've seen my last 2 Pokemon videos. But who are we kidding? Of course you haven't. I truly believe Pokemon can become the best open world game out there. So, what I'm gonna do today is telling you the story of how I will build my dream Pokemon game, just in design, because I don't know how to code anything. So I'm stuck to doing okay art for you. So let's stop stalling, subscribe, like and all that stuff, and let's get into how I will build Pokemon Aquamarine. So, first of all, Pokemon designs are not going to be criticized or anything like that. We are purely talking about game design, and I will be using an original region just to add what I think is missing in these couple-less Pokemon games. Of course, Legends Arceus is our big Pokemon game when talking about design. We will respect it in the name of our Lord Arceus, and let's agree, no Pokemon game is perfect. Okay? The way we are going to tackle this video is I'm going to walk you through the beginning of the game, just as the game would, being the only linear part, with some information pauses here and there. Then, when we reach the open world portion, I'm going to start explaining how the game design would work in almost every single part. The world, the evil team, the gyms, yada yada yada. Because I've been thinking about the design of how the game is going to work, but I never stop to think what is going to be happening on the screen. So let's take you to second 1 after you turn on the game. Once you finish telling the game how you look and designing your character, we cut to a Pokemon Stadium, where a lot of people are chanting, and then from the center of the stage, a huge steam cloud erupts. It's Jade, the best Pokemon contestant in the region. Her Altaria does tricks while she rises, everyone in the stadium keeps chanting her name, and then everything comes to a stop. And she, with a microphone in hand, welcomes the Elite Four to the stadium. While they enter, we see a shot of the 12 gym leaders clapping at their entrance. Jade jumps on her Altaria and comes down to the stadium, where she gives the microphone to the Elite Four members. They welcome the people and presents a new challenger for the champion title, a very young prospect ready for battle, and then they present the current champion, with just 1 loss in her belt, by one of the Elite Four members, Pugna, the Alma region champion. She comes forward and accepts the challenge. You may be saying, yo, that sounds pretty familiar, and you'll be right, this is a straight up rip from Gen 8, because as much as I despise the experience that game is, and how little it did for the evolution of the games, I love how they use the gym leaders, how it felt like a big challenge everyone is shaking to see develop, how the battles are treated like football games, with people cheering, and how it all came together in the music. How Leon was this character expected to be the strongest and how that puts a clear goal on you. And I love how they use this aspect of him in the animated shorts. He knows he is expected to be the best, but he couldn't do anything in his time to protect others. And he was beaten by you, the player, and that puts a new weight on his back. We knew his time was over once he stepped into that stage with you on the other side, and how that affected his brother too. He was supposed to be as strong as Leon, but he isn't. Hate as much as you want on Hop, but they were trying something with him, something that I believe to be an amazing character work. It's a shame that they don't care about the story of Pokemon games, so because of that, it was half-ass character work, and we never saw it flourish. But whatever, what I wanted to say is, this good, and I want it in my game. Let's continue. After that, we see the battle of Pugna and the proposed new champion begin. Whilst it is going, the camera moves out of the action, revealing you, the character, watching the fight on TV, still in its pajamas. I really want this game to feel like the start of a journey, so our character is just turning the age when we are able to get our license. I want the player to live through the process of the initiation as a trainer, like in other games, but maybe with more build-up. That's why this is the only linear part of the game. While you're watching the TV, one of our mother's Pokemon comes to our room with a note in its mouth, reading, "Change and come downstairs as soon as possible." After that, we have the option to go to the closet to change from a limited selection of styles, and if you like your pajama look, don't worry, you can unlock it later. After you change, you go down the stairs where you can see our mother throwing us a surprise party with all our friends. As we can see, all of our friends have a partner Pokemon. They are 1 to 2 years older than us, meaning they have started their Pokemon journey already, except for one, Irene. Irene has been our rival since we were young, her birthday being 1 month before ours, but she is waiting for us to get our license so we could start our journey together. Pause! I know that I said Irene is our main rival, but I actually want all of our friends to be a potential rival. One thing that I like about Pokemon X and Y is that we have a wide range of friends, and not everyone wanted to be the best at battling, showing us that there is more to do in the Pokemon world other than battling. And I will tell you how I will add them to the story and overall experience of the game and the open world in a little bit. But okay, let's pause, let's continue. As we say hi to everyone, our mom gives us a gift. A little box, and we open it and we see our own trainer's license. We get excited and everyone starts congratulating us and telling us how awesome it has been since they got their own trainer license. Then Irene takes out hers and tells us how she has been waiting for us to get it so we can start battling as soon as possible. After that, everyone is smiling and starts saying, "Go, go! Go to the professor's lab! Get your own partner!" Irene, being as competitive as always, tells us to make it a race. First one takes the strongest Pokemon. So you get out of your house and start running with Irene. Ojo, you are controlling your character through all of this. I want the player to experience all of this and not through just cutscenes or dialogue, making this feel like a race from Kingdom Hearts 1, for example. If you win, nothing major happens, but if you lose, haha, nerd, noob, Irene is never going to let you forget it in future dialogues. That's why you are running from your little house through the village to get to the lab. And as you do, you can see people gardening their plants with the help of the Pokemon. You can see people battling on the back, cooking, people brushing their fur. You can see at the distance people flying with their Pokemon. And the game is telling you, no, promising you that you will be able to do all of this in your own adventure. After that, we do the Pokemon thing. Select our starter, our rival says fuck you and picks the super effective one, we battle her, and after that, we are set. We meet with our mother and friends one last time, pick our backpack with a couple of helpful items for our journey, and we start our adventure. But Alpha! Alpha! Before we leave, we see an Alpha Munchlax destroying some houses in search of food. Call the Rangers! And before we know it, we throw our Pokeball and challenge it to a fight. And we start spamming the new move we got after our first battle, but it makes almost no damage. Then, Munchlax retaliates with Tackle and gets our Pokemon to halve its HP. Then, after another attack, our Pokemon gets to 1 HP. And we are powerless. But then, we hear a couple of Pokeballs bouncing on the floor, and we see the partner Pokemon of our friends. We turn around to see them ready to battle. Irene runs and gives us a potion for our Pokemon. As we heal, we see our friends trying to take him out. Then we and Irene start helping too. Munchlax is almost at half HP, and when we think we got this, it uses an AoE attack, bringing all of our Pokemon down to 1 HP. And when it appears to be over, in our first day as a trainer, a Salamence appears and takes down the Munchlax. It's the Rangers! They arrived just in time. The Ranger throws a Pokeball at Munchlax and catches it, making it a successful mission. The Rangers starts patrolling nearby the village to see if there isn't another Pokemon like that around, and with that, after a quick scolding from the Rangers and a sincere thanks for protecting the village, we go home and we think about what we just went through and wake up next day at the gate of our village, ready for what is to come. A beautiful adventure, with the knowledge at the back of our heads that it may be more dangerous than what meets the eye. And with that, we finish the beginning of Pokemon Aquamarine. Before going on, let's have one more pause. I decided to tackle this scripted event at the beginning because, yeah, it's alright when someone tells you, "Hey, Alpha Pokemon are dangerous. Yo, kid, Alpha Pokemon are dangerous, remember that," and shit. And you build up in your head that, well, they are dangerous. And when you battle one, it can be a deception because it doesn't meet our expectation. But I decided to go with another route, making you live through it. I'm taking a page out of Final Fantasy VII. The whole game, you are being told that Sephiroth is a powerhouse, the best soldier, the best hero, and then you are told you're gonna have to fight him. And you could say, yeah, whatever, just another boss. But in the Nibelheim flashback, you actually live firsthand how powerful he is. He makes thousands of damage to the monster that attacks you, while you, in your most powerful state in the game until now, deal like 100 damage at best. So instead of the game just telling you that he is the most powerful soldier ever, you were there. You saw it with your own eyes. So you buy it. You know he's the baddest motherfucker around. And here you try to stop a low-level Alpha Pokemon with the help of your friends. But once you go out in your journey, you are by yourself. No one is going to rescue you if you challenge an Alpha Pokemon. So now you know how strong they are, and you're going to think twice before going to a battle unprepared. So if you are like me, once you see one, you're going to go straight to it, get your ass destroyed, and learn your lesson like a good boy. And if you're asking, well, I went through all of that shtick, but what do I do now? Well, the answer is anything you want. The world is open for you, and based on what you do, the story and interactions will open up for you. The world is open, and we don't have to break our heads to think how it can work. We already have an open world Pokemon game, and an open area Pokemon game. It's a huge map with a lot of Pokemon that vary in level. There are places with stronger Pokemon than others. There are places with stronger trainers, and I like that, since they give you a goal that you can see with your own eyes, and it's reachable. One thing I will change is how catching Pokemon will work, and how you can interact with them in the overworld. So let's start with wild Pokemon. Of course, bring Legends Arceus catching mechanic back. Throwing Pokeballs is fun and is a no-brainer, and it makes your interaction with Pokemon more lively. Instead of just approaching every single one and starting a battle, some of them can attack you, some of them will run from you, forcing you to play in a more stealthy way around them, or equipping different, equipment to make it easier to you to go near them. So, we have to always be aware of the world and start learning about the Pokemon that live in it. One more pause, so I can explain myself. So, like I said, I want you, me, the player, feel like the playable character in Pokemon. They are embarking on a new adventure. They know just the basics about the Pokemon that inhabit the world. So, I want the player to start with almost no knowledge. What Pokemon run away from you? What certain Pokemon like to eat? Where do they live? How is the easiest or fastest way to catch them? We are going to learn why we advance in the game, as if we were really there. Little by little, we are going to learn about the world, the Pokemon, and we are going to have a better idea of how to move flawlessly through it. And this is going to link with a lot more of the gameplay aspects of this game. One other thing that will behave differently is the level of the Pokemon. In every Pokemon game, there is a certain level cap per area. For example, level 5 Pokemon at the starting area, then like 12 in the next area and blah blah blah. So you'll clean a full area and there is no reason for you to go back, right? Well, I want the world to feel more alive. So as we explore areas, we can see Pokemon from our level and above roaming. Meaning that there are going to be Pokemon that we are going to be not able to catch because of the level gap and how strong they are. But we see them, turning a light in our brain telling us that when we are stronger, we can go back to get those stronger Pokemon with greater value. Value, huh? And you may be thinking, okay, they are level 20 or 25, but what is stopping me from literally just chucking balls at it until it gets into the Pokeball? And now I got a 25 level Pokemon to destroy the game with. Well, this is the moment where I explain to you the design aspect behind lures and Pokemon value, because I already told you the world is going to be open for you to traverse since here, but I haven't explained to you how are we going to traverse the land of the Alma region, and what do I mean with the world value. Well, one thing that really bugs me in Pokemon games is the fact that you can catch everything the same way. You could say it's actually good design since the beginning you are shown how to do it, and you're prepared and have specific strategies to catch even the hardest Pokemon. But I find it really boring, since the good part comes when you catch the Pokemon. The process of catching it's boring. You can even see Poketubers speeding that process or just chucking Pokeballs and restarting until the 1% come true. And in Legends Arceus you could just throw the lead to stings and catch everything by just spamming balls. But how about we make the process of catching Pokemon an investigation too? Like I said, we want to understand the world just like our characters, so we need to investigate how to catch Pokemon too. Those level 25 Pokemon in the first area ain't going to let you catch them because they are going to be on a defensive stand since the beginning. They are too powerful to be caught by just throwing a ball, so we need to lower those defenses with Pokelures. And what are Pokelures? In the beginning area you will find a trainer that will explain it to you, if you want. He will explain how certain Pokemon need to eat and smell certain things for we to be able to catch them. Some Pokemon are as easy as throwing a berry at them, like a Meryl, and you can start taking notes in your Pokédex of what berries works on what Pokemon. But after that, we reach tier 2 lures that need to be crafted. For example, fusing smelly leaves from certain plants that grows almost everywhere with an orange berry, and we tie them up with a web from any arachnid Pokemon. With that we have a lure to catch Emolgas. Since the smell will attract them, the berry will entice them to it and the web will lower their speed so they can't run away from us. And only after that we can throw the Pokeball or start the battle. And with that we have designed a way for the player to interact with the world, learn about the Pokemon and entice them to explore, since they are going to need a lot of information to keep catching Pokemon. And with this, there is a reason for you to go outside the area, collect the materials you need to come back and catch the high level Pokemon once you have the necessary lure. And if you're asking, why will I come back to catch those Pokemon? Well, because of their value. And their value is how much they can help you to interact and traverse the world. If we see my poorly designed and rendered map, we can see that there are a lot of lakes, mountains, huge areas between points of interest, deserts, volcanoes, and more. And for you to be able to move flawlessly through all of those biomes, you are going to need Pokemon, since all of them have built-in abilities depending on their race and move pool. For example, let's say you got a Rattata, and this is a group known for their scavenging abilities. So in a built-in ability, you can use their nose to find Pokemon you battled already, or search forgotten items that are everywhere in the world, or even trace certain types of crafting materials. And like this, we have Pokemon that can help swim through lakes, or Pokemon that can help you dive in certain deep waters. Rock Pokemon to help you climb mountains or break mineral deposits for more crafting items. Note that not every Pokemon can do everything. There are multiple Pokemon that can share the ability to do certain actions. Fire Pokemon to help you cook, start fires, and warm you up on cold places. Ice Pokemon to help you in warm places, as well as water Pokemon. Grass Pokemon to help you collect berries, cut trees, and even plant your own berry trees in certain downs. Flying Pokemon for flying, and with this we can see that all those things we saw at the beginning, we are the ones doing them now, in some sort of tutorial without having to be all, here are 100 paragraphs and cutscenes. Nah! I want to respect the players and let them discover the world by their own merit, with some help sprinkled here and there, if needed. They just have to be open to explore, like I said multiple times. It's like if they were put into the world of Pokemon. It's their adventure, from 0 knowledge to 100. In real life, if you were stuck here, you will try to find someone to help you, or you will experiment by your own, and that's neat. So maybe this level 25 Pokemon in the starting area have a great value when it comes to helping you. Maybe it's a Go-Goat, and you can ride it to move faster, use their headbutt to break rocks, blocking your way or blocking items. And maybe if you're lacking a water Pokemon, use it to take down trees to make bridges to cross lakes. There are a lot of ways for you to use the world, and it's physics, and your Pokemon are going to help you do it. Pause! I just want to say one more thing before moving on. So, I say how Pokemon have searching abilities to help you in specific places, but I don't want to tell the players what to do. I want them to explore and experiment, like the example I just said with the Goat. So, if they see a berry, they could use Vine Whip to get it with a grass type, or cut it with a steel type or bug Pokemon to take down the tree and grab it, or use a Pokemon strong enough with Headbutt to get them, shaking the tree, or burn the tree with a fire Pokemon and get the cooked berries, or get charcoal from the tree. I'm not limiting the players, I'm making them have to use the tools they have to reach their goals. If you don't have a water Pokemon and you happen to catch a nice one, maybe instead of swimming to cross the river, you can freeze it and walk through it. Maybe like that you can even hunt for some Pokemon while the ice melts. I want this world to be a sandbox, not a freaking linear limited experience. That's why I want Pokemon from different level groups to be everywhere, so you can go anywhere and find different value in Pokemon, and go back when necessary or to complete your Pokédex. But also don't feel tangled to one Pokemon, since there are a lot of ways for you to progress through an obstacle, and trying to keep the weak Pokemon useful. Let's put the example of Rattata. It is a part of the scavenging group of Pokemon. A strong jaw is also part of its abilities and a small size. If you find an item in a really small spot with vines covering it, you can use Rattata to go in there, shoot the vines and grab the item. Something that a Mighty Gina, a scavenger Pokemon with a strong jaw and rideable, couldn't do because it lacks the small size to get in there. But that doesn't mean Rattata is your only option. Pachirisu might share some of those stats too, for example. So it's just the fact of using the strengths of your Pokemon whenever you can. And yes, the value of the Pokemon are set from the beginning, meaning if you have a level 10 Pokemon, you need a lure to catch that level 35 Golduck, for example. If you have a level 70 Pokemon, you still need a lure to catch that level 35 Golduck. You need to use everything around you for it to be catchable. Other way, it will just faint, run, or just not be catchable at all. So the way the map will work is just like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. The whole map is open and you have a lot of big areas with diverse interest points in them. For example, this beginning area is like a plateau and it's going to be green with open areas, lots of trees, some little shallow lakes, caves and small rock formations for you to climb. But in there we also have some bigger interest points like Applin Forest, which is a forest with applins, I think you get it. Or this little lake area, or how you can go to the sand and see the beach and there is a village almost in the end. The thing is, it being like a big green area doesn't mean it's going to be the same experience exploring this chunk of the map than the others. We have a lot of things to do, explore and discover, and with the help of your Pokemon you can make the best of it and discover more hidden areas. For example, in the map it may just look like this, but what if you can catch a Dedenne in this forest, walk into a cave and discover that the Dedenne can light up the cave for you to explore, and you find a rock with some blue crystals and some items at the end of it. But wait, you have a Judo. What if you tried breaking the rock and after you do, you find a hidden path that takes you to a maze of connected caves that are lighted by those same blue minerals, where you can find rare Pokemon, more items and even a quest line. And if you try to enter the same cave without some Pokemon lighting it up, you can see the glow emitting from the other side of the first rock, and after breaking it you reach the same spot. Your thirst for exploration will reward you in this world. So let me show you one of my favorite parts of the map, starting with my favorite of them all, Ventre Forest. Ventre Forest can look like a really humid forest with a large lake at the center, but in reality it has a big secret. If we can find a Pokemon to use dive and the equipment necessary for us to breathe underneath the water, we can go really deep into the water body to find life underneath the forest itself, making it a truly magnificent experience for us, the trainers that dare to go into the mouth of what is known as the Ventre Forest. Or how about Catarata Mountain? It looks just like a usual big mountain with a waterfall, but it can have more secrets than what we think.
since inside the mountain we can see the enormous roots of the gigantic tree at the top of the mountain. And what are those things in the roots? Villages? Yeah, we can find villages on the top of the roots and the tree trunks, and inside of them too. Maybe even a Pokemon gym. Or maybe let's go into a warm place like the Pedrita Desert, a place filled with lots of ancient buildings that hide a wonderful and powerful history of past Pokemon wars and human empires, where a water Pokemon is needed to not pass out from the powerful heat. But how about we go to a warmer place, like the Saxum Mountains, a large range of mountains that sprouted around the Saxum volcano. Here, an ice Pokemon and even a water Pokemon may be needed to cross this place that is swimming with lava ponds and powerful heat, and maybe with some secrets in between all of those dark clouded mountains. Or maybe we can go places with less lava, like the Natet Village, a village built in its entirety in the ocean, floating villages filled with stores, merchants, and buildings completely designed to be fishing 24/7. Built above a crater that goes really deep into the ocean floor, told to be filled with Titan Pokemon. Wait, Titan Pokemon? Maybe the chief from the Pisces coast can explain to us what Titan Pokemon are. You see, he has a handcrafted, rustic Titan fishing pole himself, with which he hunts Titan Pokemon. Or at least that's what he says. Is it true? There are a lot more places in the world just like this, interesting with a lot of lore and wonderful characters to meet, but maybe the rest of them are for another video. For now, let's talk about those Titan Pokemon, and even let's talk some more about Alpha Pokemon. Alpha Pokemon are really strong Pokemon, as we know because of our experience in the beginning part of the game. And maybe after having that 5v1 battle, you think Alphas are going to work like the Terra Raids or Gmax Pokemon battles. I mean, after 2 Pokemon games feeding us these half-baked ideas, and then living through this, I would. So it can be a surprise when you start a battle with one, finding out it's nothing like that, and you are alone against a powerful Pokemon. A Pokemon so strong that it can take your whole team alone, making them a force to be reckoned with. If you are not prepared, they can be the hardest Pokemon to battle, and they can bring fear to players, since when they enter an Alpha Pokemon domain, they are not going to stay in one place like in Legends Arceus. No, we want that Alpha Pokemon to be roaming the area it domains, so we have to be aware of our surroundings if we don't wanna end up like my man Invincible here, It gives the players an imaginary clock in which they have to do everything they need in the area before danger comes. So it makes us have to strategize ways to go around it. Wait until the alpha goes to sleep to collect certain items, or even there could be a crafting option for an alarm that we can place somewhere in our vicinity, and when it goes off, we need to get the hell out of there because that means the alpha is coming to rip us a new one. And those could be the alpha Pokemon. And the Titan Pokemon are just alpha with steroids. They are so goddamn big, it is truly a boss fight. A boss fight that may be needed in a side quest or a main quest, and to get the best equipment or items to catch Pokemon. But they are so goddamn big that here is where the chief comes around. You can use his handmade Titan fishing rod to grind water Titan Pokemon items. You can leave lures that need really niche crafting items, and when you visit again, you can see if you caught anything and then battle it to get the magnificent items that Titan Pokemon drops. And you may be thinking,
well, why aren't I catching the Titan Pokemon? Surely it's strong. I want it in my team.
Well, it's not necessary for every Pokemon in the map to be catchable. If you want to catch a Dragonite, well, look for Dratinis or Dragonairs, but there may be an Alpha Dragonite that roams from the feet to the top of a mountain, and beating him could be a challenge the game throws at you. But if we go to the Legends Arceus rules, after capturing it, you will have a powerful Pokemon and no need for the other ones in battle. So just make it a boss fight, not catchable, not even defeatable. Maybe when you deplete its health, it just goes to their nest and you can go there to collect Dratini eggs, and you might be saying,
so what is this? Why would I waste my time fighting if I can't catch it?
Well, Alpha Pokemon can give you specific materials like Alpha Scales and Alpha shit, I don't know. And you can make use of those materials to craft lures and create equipment for your Pokemon. Making use of the biomes of the world, we can create certain limits for the Pokemon as well. Maybe in cold areas, Pokemon without lots of fat or fur or without the fire typing
can't endure the cold, so you can take it out of its Pokeball. This can make your best fighter take a back seat on these parts of the game, and that is obviously the idea. But what if it is your partner, your starter, and you don't want to get rid of it? How about we use all those items you've collected to craft some equipment outside of health items? So maybe with Wool, some Alpha Arcanine Fur, and an Arachnid Pokemon Silk, we can craft a jacket or some warm wristbands, a scarf, and a beanie for your Torterra. So now you can take it with you no matter how cold it gets. And this can work well with hot areas, sandy areas, water areas, yada 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 yada. Everything in the world needs a reason to be there. Everything is a new experience for our players, a design opportunity, and everything is worth money. So all the choices should matter. So let's make use of all kinds of Pokemon. How about we can expand the freedom in how you can collect various items? For example, there are tons of rocks blocking a flower that you want and you know it's there because your mighty Jena smelled it because you were traveling with it in your bike or in the back of your rideable Pokemon or just walking with it. And now you have to get it, so let's use the physics of the game to our advantage. We know we can destroy those rocks with a fighting Pokemon, or maybe a Pokemon that has a lot of strength with certain moves, like Granidos Headbutt, or Dubwool Headbutt, or maybe set fire to the grass in front of it and use a wind move from a Pokemon with a giant wingspan, like a Fearow or Pidgeot, to make a lot of hot air to throw those rocks out of the way. Or use a small Pokemon like the Tene and take brief control of it to go through those rocks and grab the flower and give it back to the trainer character. Or instead of taking control of it, just making the command so he picks up the flower for you like in the new Pokemon games. Let's not leave it at that. You could use Pokemon with Cut or Biology to cut trees like Scyther to take down trees and use those logs to create bridges to cross rivers if you don't have any Pokemon to help you swim through it. Or use a nice Pokemon to build a path like I said earlier. There are lots of ways to make use of these creatures and exploit the world around you. Let's not forget the first thing that will bring players to the game are the creatures. So let's use them as much as we can in a way they feel fit in the world we are creating. The equipment can also make the game feel more alive, like creating incubators outside of your main party that your rideable Pokemon can wear, so everywhere you go, the eggs keeps getting closer to hatching without having to compromise the 6th spot in the party. Equipment to recharge your Pokemon electricity or portable crafting spaces. Catching Pokemon could be really hard after crossing that level 20 barrier, so you need materials to upgrade your Pokeballs to Great Balls or Ultra Balls, or we could even introduce new Pokeballs that can help us capture specific kinds of Pokemon. With this, the player can really feel inside the world of Pokemon. No BS, no half-baked ideas, we live, breathe, and we freaking see the world of Pokemon. So yeah, Titan and Alpha Pokemon are mini bosses or full-fledged bosses that can give you materials to enhance your party or catch some good-ass value Pokemons. We have the information about the Pokemon now. We have now a couple of things left to learn about, like the villages, rivals, the enemy team, endgame, legendaries, and of course the competitive scene. So let's start with villages and rivals, because what will Pokemon be without a good rival? Shit. It will be shit. Villages are going to be all over the region. Some have gyms, some don't, but all of them have opportunities for you to get new lure recipes, new information on Pokemon from the area, side quests, and maybe even information about legendary Pokemon in the region. Some villages have fossil researchers, some villages have houses for sale, so you may plant your own berries and build your own home to show the other players. All of them have stores for you to buy crafting materials, Pokeballs, potions, but there is some problem in the village from time to time: the enemy group. There is this enemy group doing bad stuff everywhere in the map. Let's call them the Latro team. Latro is a team of evil doers that like to steal from villages and people that are in their own Pokemon journey. Every time Latro team starts an operation, you have a certain time to reach that place to help the village defend itself. There may be attack in villages at the same time, so you need to choose carefully what village you want to protect, or they may ambush you on your journey through different areas, just like the Giga Clan from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So, what if we are occupied in a gym leader challenge or in a dungeon and we can go defend the village? What is the repercussion if we don't help the village? Well, you may be cut off some of the best items the village can give you. Some of them can sell you new outfits after helping them, or good ass crafting materials, or stronger Pokeballs. But if you miss the call to action, the village will have less money, making their stores close for at least a couple of seasons. And some villagers succumb to the fear of attacks, blocking some side quests for a couple of seasons. So, how are we going to be able to know where the enemy team is going? I think Pokemon Rangers are one of the most underused Pokemon characters ever, since they interact with the Pokemon world a lot, and are a good team for once. And even though Game Freak is doing everything in their power to hide the Rangers underneath the shelf and making us forget they exist, I think they are a fantastic option to have in an open world Pokemon game. So, when we are leaving the first area, we will find the same ranger that helped us in the beginning of the game, and he will ask us to be part of the ranger team since he was impressed with our courage, like Deku, you know? So after we accept, he will gift us a walkie-talkie in which we will get information about the Latro team attacks on villages or actions against the wild Pokemon. And every time we help, we get a ranger point that can help us unlock the ranger outfit and one of the hardest trainer battles in the post-game against the same ranger that help us save our village. And this new interface that the walkie-talkie gives us about the action of the enemy team in the map is the same application we are going to have with our rival. An open world game means to have a lot of side quests to make use of its world and collectibles, and the Pokemon Ranger side quests are going to be our main source of them. But we can also make use of these side quests to make the world richer and learn more about the Pokemon, as we always wanted to do. Side quests about helping a little kid that went missing after a Drifloon started chasing him. And from that side quest, we can get the scent from the Drifloon, so we can catch it once we are finished with the quest, or during the quest, I don't care. Or a Donphan rampage, and we learn that they love to bait in mud, so when they roll, they leave mud trails. So now we know that if we see a mud trail like the one from the quest, Donphans are nearby, making the quest fun and useful for giving us information on how to catch them all. In this game, we have 5 rivals, Irene and our 4 friends that started the journey before us, and a couple of times per season they will message us that they are doing a certain activity, and they will send us their location, giving us the opportunity to go and say hello to them and help them with the quest they are doing. There could be a lot of different activities other than a Pokemon battle, or just exploring a dungeon together. For example, collecting search and berries or helping them take a specific picture of a Pokemon. All of these missions will help you progress into the story of this rival and get to know them better. There isn't a necessary amount of missions you have to do with your rivals. You could just go ahead and not pay any attention to them. But the idea I have with this is making the player bat their own game. And what do I mean with that? One of my favorite things about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is that everyone has a different experience playing it. We share the same big points in the story like the water temple, but how you reach it, when did you find it, and how you beat it, and the things surrounding you were 100% different than my experience. So that's something I would like to imitate here. I would love players to find their favorite rivals and spend time with them, get to know all of them, and then choose a favorite rival. And the decision we make in this part of the game, at this side quest of the game, is going to make a difference a little later into the game. Aside from the Ranger quest, which gives us internship points, the side quest of the game will be pretty standard as always, bringing certain things to some NPCs, battles, catching Pokemon, and pictures. And with this, I would like to tackle 2 different things I would love to see in a Pokemon game. In this Pokemon game, in Pokemon Aquamarine. 1, the addition of a camera minigame, just like Pokemon Snap. You could use your camera anywhere, and Pokemon interacting in the game with each other. Pokemon to Pokemon action, you know? One of the biggest selling points in the whole Pokemon franchise is the Pokemon, so let's do everything we can with them. Let's make them seem alive, just like the alpha Pokemon. I don't want them to just stay there looking at the infinite space in front of their eyes. I want them walking, interacting in the world and with one another, making this NPC side quest a way to teach the player about Pokemon hunting and actions, like maybe in that village there is a guy that wants us to take a picture of Heracross with its biggest rival and tell us that Heracross sheds their skeleton near their nest. So we now have information on how to hunt this Pokemon. If we're in a forest and we see Heracross wings in the ground, a horn, etc., it means it's shedding near that place. We are close, and we have to be stealthy since they have an aggressive nature, and after we find it, we have to wait until we see Pinsir arrive. and they start fighting. So now we can take the shot, and after that we can even catch them, if you have the lures or just go finish the quest. And the NPC, after taking a look at the picture, he can tell us everything we need to know for the lure. So if we hadn't unlocked it yet, we have the lure now. And maybe if we catch a Heracross and show it to him, or to a rival of him in Cadere Village, he can tell us he is a good for nothing, Pinsir is better, and he gives us the lure for Pinsir. And that makes the characters in the world feel more alive and awesome. We are going to continue exploring and talking to NPCs because we want to find every secret. NPCs that tell us that Garchomp has a really strong claws, so they sharpen them in rocks inside caves. And if you're in a cave and see a rock full of scratches, it means there is a Garchomp nearby. And let us see Garchomp do that, let us catch them in the act. A Pidgeotto hunting near the water. And if we find a Viper's fangs in the ground, then a Zangoose fought and beat it not so long ago. It may be near, and of course, let us watch that happen if we are lucky enough. We can follow Pokemon without being detected to snap a shot of that magnificent moment for a side quest. That will be so awesome! Of course, this is not a Pokemon game that they can do in 2 years. They will need more time. And that's okay, we gotta learn to wait for amazing things instead of having half-baked games each year. And while I have been talking about all of these points, I mentioned here and there the gyms of the game, but I haven't been specific on how they will work out. So let's talk about gyms. Gym leaders will be everywhere. You will only need 8 badges to go take on the Elite Four, but there will be 12 gym leaders, so everyone can take the path they like the most instead of always having the same experience. And the gym leaders will have multiple teams depending on your gym badges and level. The first gym will always be a test, so no matter where you take it, it will always be the same level, like level 14 let's say. And it won't let you register Pokemon above that level. So if you are already level 50, you'll need to catch a level 14 team. And once you beat them, the other gyms will have your information on deck and can change teams depending on your badge cap. And because it's a challenge, they will not accept a Pokemon above the level cap they are managing, making you build a team that can take on leaders outside of your exploration team. And if you want to use your most powerful over-level team in each gym city, there is a side quest to beat the master of each gym leader. The fight will be a boss fight. The master will have a powerful team with a good AI, making you have to pay attention to the battle in particular. You might not be ready to challenge him until you're ready to go to the victory road, or maybe even after that. The gym leaders will make us do a gym challenge before accepting our battle. It can vary depending on the gym leader. Maybe it's discovering a cave somewhere in the region and exploring it and bringing a specific item. Or it can be going to a Latro team hideout and destroying it with the help of the gym leader. And ojo perro, because if you let Latro team ravage a village, they may have extra items making these battles extra hard. Some of the challenges can also be a simple minigame. With these challenges, we can start getting to know the gym leaders so we can care about them before and after the fight, some of them even appearing in our quest with our rivals in the future. That's why you need to listen to our rivals so you can go to the gym leaders they are going to form a friendship and things like that. So gym leaders will work as always, but they will have an extra hump, making them more likable and making you choose your own path instead of doing the same gym pathing as always. Or having the gyms be open like in these Pokemon games, but keeping them in some pre-decided level, making that freedom fake. And there's one other thing I would love to change. Gym leaders always shout out their weaknesses. I'm a grass trainer, okay fire. I'm a water trainer, okay electricity. So how about instead of a grass trainer, it is a reptile researcher, making the leader have Meganium with Sunny Day, a Heliolisk with solar power, and a Salassi, a Feraligator to keep its defenses checked. So this gym leader is a researcher that is always tired but has a deep bond with his Pokemon. Or maybe a gym leader that is a pirate, the daughter of the chief, and she has Pokemon like Delmice like an anchor, Sharpedo as the one under the ship, Inteleon as a sniper, Machamp as a sword fighter, Tortunator as a cannon, stuff like that. Teams that you can't really tell what is going to throw at you, unless with the fact that they can have multiple teams. But once you see them, you can have that oh moment when you see the team. A metal guitarist with Loudred and Jigglypuff and Toxtricity, a minor gym leader, a shy intellectual girl with shy Pokemon, and looking at their team, you can learn about Pokemon that run from you in the overworld. There is a lot of character and world building we can do with this. And so, before going into the endgame, I want to talk about the legendary Pokemon and how I would like to implement it. And as you might think this is going, yeah, I'm going to use them as a world building and side quest material. Let's explore the goddamn world! Picture this, if you will, for a moment. We are running through the Folia forest. We are stepping on crunching leaves. There are a lot of Pokemon from Gen 2 in the area. The trees are orange and we are just exploring. We aren't even using a mount. But then we catch at the corner of our eyes a shine. And as we turn to see what's going on, there is a tower shining with a rainbow at the top. So we run as fast as we can towards it. And then the rainbow disappears. We reach a town with a lot of people and we see that the entrance of the tower from which we saw the rainbow is locked. We go to the tower and talk to the guards, and they tell us that the tower is closed to the people that are from outside of the village, and we need to be declared as part of the village to get into that tower. And we speak to the store owners and NPCs, and we are told that we have to go through a challenge to be part of the village. A battle against 8 different guardians, each of them using a different evolution. A battle with no healing in between. So we go with these guardians, and they tell us to take part of the challenge, we need to have a ceremonial attire. And when we talk with the costume maker of the village, she asks us for a couple of items. We bring them to her, we take part of the challenge, we win, and now we are part of the village. The shop opens extra options. There are more places we can go into, and the people start opening up to us, so we go to the top of that tower. But there is nothing. We start talking to the villagers that have a new liking to us, and they tell us how the legendary bird Ho-Oh visits the town every year, when the leaves start to fall and the light of the rising sun makes rainbows through the falling leaves. They don't tell us as it is, but we can put together that they are talking about the season of fall and that it happens at sunrise. Then, talking to the guardians, we are told that the bird only responds to the one carrying the rainbow feather and that it loves the taste of the Titan Gyarados whiskers and the smell of the biggest tree of the region, telling us that we need to find a feather near the tower and go beat some Titan Gyarados and fly or climb to the top of Catarata Mountain to get the materials we need. They don't tell us as it is a puzzle after all, and we need to put all the pieces together, making us explore, making us talk as if we were there. It is a complete experience. Even when we decide to play with friends, we could exchange the knowledge we have about the Pokemon in the area we are going to explore together. And, okay, I know a lot of people are going to put the answers online, like the materials of the lures and where to find certain items and Pokemons, since like I've mentioned in the whole video, there are going to be seasons like in Black and White, so certain Pokemon will only appear on specific seasons, making the world feel like it's breathing. We are only living in it, we don't control it. But it doesn't bother me. Back on the day, instead of the internet, we had to talk to each other, or we had to read magazines with secrets, like the Nintendo Power. With the internet, there were blogs on how to do certain things, like the monster transformations in the Dark Cloud games. But it makes a scene of brotherhood between the players. It makes them talk and share the topic. It makes them connect with something they like. It makes a discussion, a connection, and I love that. So I don't hate the fact that these changes will make people going to the internet to search for easier answers. But going back, this is how I will make the legendaries work. A puzzle that will make you have to connect exploration with everything else in the game, making you feel there, like you are the trainer in a world with the answers at the tip of your fingers. We just need to go in search of them and be willing to explore. And with this, we are only left with 2 more things: endgame and competitive. Competitive is so simple that I'm just gonna say it real quick. We make a battle simulation arena, we can simulate any Pokemon we have caught, then we just make the EV and IV spread as we like in Pokemon Showdown, put the items we want and fight. So you can do it everywhere at any time. The only thing that is asked of you is go catch the Pokemon, so you can make the simulation out of it. That's it. So let's go to the endgame. And there are 6 possible endings to the game. One is if we just go through it without any socialization or meaningful socialization with our rivals, where we fight the number 1 trainer and then the young prodigy from the start of the game challenges us in there, in the middle of the arena after hitting our Pokemon. Or, depending on which rival you had the closest relationship, that rival is the one that challenges you at the end of the game, making you have a different experience from other players. And the team of the rival will be composed by the different quests you did, Maybe you help one of them to take a picture of a Gyarados going up a waterfall, so she might have a Gyarados in their team. Or one of them asks you to battle him in a forest full of scissors, and after losing to you, he decided to catch one from there. Stuff like that, depending on which side quest you completed with your rival of choice, the team it will have at the end of the game, making you feel like all of this was a continuous story. And at the end of the battle, each of them can have a different cutscene depending on the personality of the character, closing this game and leaving us with the post-game where we can fight the gym leaders with their best team, even the ones who didn't fought in the main story, as well as a special final side quest with our rivals, and catch 2 or 3 more legendaries. Maybe even open a part of the map to go catch Giratina in the distorted world. And of course the battle with the Pokemon Ranger from the start of the game if we completed our Ranger internship. Then we can also see Pokemon contest open up, where we will have to do search and minigames to win each one and win the ribbons that may open up a secret double fight at the end, I don't know. The good part of having a giant world with a lot of characters is that we can use those personalities at the end too, to make the player say, damn, am I fighting him? Like we did with Red so many years ago. Like fighting the chief, or making that character at the beginning of the game a new rival, as we need to protect our position as a champion from now on. And I know what you're thinking. Yo, what about the Battle Frontier? I for once agree with the Pokemon fans, and I think the Battle Frontier should open up in the post-game, where you can do battles with rental Pokemon to switch things up and all of that. But most important of all, open in a way to play with your friends outside of sharing the same place, exploring and battling and training. After opening up the Battle Frontier, you should be able to play minigames with your friends a la Pokemon Stadium, with a score ladder so you can play it online too with strangers and try to be the best of the best. And also have a duo rogue like tower, a place where you and your friend will pick 3 random rental Pokemon with random moves and play 2v2 battles trying to reach the top of the tower. There are going to be 2 different ways of playing the duo tower. One versus the computer, where you and your friends battle NPCs with random teams, and when getting closer to the top you're going to start getting more random Pokemon until you have a full team, and after that you're going to be given the option to change Pokemon for new rental ones, until you fight the Elite Four and your rivals and all of that. The hardest battles until you reach the top, and nice! You won! It's a nice duo experience with your friends and a cool way to shake things up a little. Or it could be played as a sort of battle royale online, where you and your friend will battle other players playing 2-2, with random rental Pokemon too, and each time you beat someone, they will lose and get kicked out of the tower, and the ones that win will go up the tower and the fight will continue until there is just one team remaining. And winning these sort of minigames can award you titles, and everyone that battles with you can see them, and new cosmetics for your Pokemon. This postgame is to bring more life to the competitive world of Pokemon, as well as the online presence, making it a place for some casual players, making it live for longer, and giving Poketubers more ways to have fun with their viewers. But well, the Battle Frontier brings to a close the game that in my mind will be Pokemon Aquamarine, the Pokemon game that will never exist, but I would love to play.